And we are live. Peace, peace, peace to everybody. This is the spiritual blueprint for y'all for the stock market. You understand? I didn't already put y'all up on the Traders Blueprint Workshop starting September the 7th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure that y'all sign up for the class. The link is in the description for y'all. We got everything on the store already for y'all to go ahead and enjoy. Got a whole bunch of free stuff for y'all traders out there, as well as anybody that just want to level up in any type of way, because that's what we about to get into today. You know, we about to get into what I got in here, this spiritual stock trading, all right? And then we go start taking it to levels that go beyond that and what can help you in every single day life. And you understand, taking it to a whole different plateau, if you will, of information and understanding. See, a lot of people think that, you know, you could just get in here, trade some stocks, and that's that. But the reality is it takes a certain mindset to be able to be successful in the stock market, but it takes a certain mindset to be successful in anything that you do. That's why one of my favorite players is Kobe Bryant, that Mamba mentality, you know? One of the reasons why he the greatest is because of the invention of that Mamba mentality. If you go ask all the former players in the NBA, all of them would say, you know, that he the best, you know, or one of two besides Jordan. You know what I'm saying? No offense to LeBron or whoever. I really don't care in that type of way. But the point of it is, it's the mentality. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what we go get into in this particular show. We go get into the mentality, right? Because the all is mind, the universe is mental, right? And this is the second book that we actually go over in the workshop, right? This is the Kybalion Hermetic Philosophy by 3 Initiates, right? Little book, but this is a book that explains the 7 universal laws, right? And so a lot of people don't know what the 7 universal laws are, but you probably have heard of things like the law of attraction. Well, the law of attraction is a combination of the 7 laws, right? And so what goes on is that a lot of times we don't understand the type of mentality that it really takes to be successful in the things that we do. And it all starts mentally, right? And so if you go and you download the spiritual stock trading material that's in the description in the store, right? You're going to open up a whole new world of clear thinking, clear understanding, you know what I'm saying? Consistent trades for y'all traders, you know? And you're going to discover how the 7 universal laws from the Kybalion can transform your trading psychology and performance. And this guide is going to bridge the ancient wisdom with the modern market mechanics to help you develop your edge and build your trading habits. And it's going to work in any market. And I guarantee you it's going to work in any market. It's going to work in anywhere in your life. You know what I'm saying? And this is going to matter to all of the traders. This is a nice blueprint for all y'all that need to get that extra psychological edge. And it goes through each one of the 7 universal laws, starting with the law of mentalism, right? And the law of mentalism states that the all is mind, the universe is mental, right? And so in the trading translation, it says your market results flow from your dominant thoughts and the quality of your attention, and you trade your beliefs, right? Now, this is really important to understand in the context of how we all think, how we believe in ourselves, right? Because a lot of us really don't believe in ourselves. And it's something that is ingrained in us through the way that this society works. Okay? See, y'all don't get it. Y'all get out here and y'all run around and y'all, vote for who you want to as presidents, and y'all can decide, who's going to be the governor and the city councilman and all of that other cool stuff. But the reality is that none of those people have an effect on your life besides you and the belief that you have within yourself. And so, going back to that law of mentalism, right? You have to mentally know thyself enough and believe in thyself enough to be able to conquer the things that you need to conquer in your journeys of your life. And the biggest thing that holds a lot of us back is good old fashioned fear, right? The fear of losing your job or losing a loved one or, losing your damn car keys for for all intents and purposes. We don't want to lose anything. We're some of us are afraid of success because we don't know what that looks like for us because we never even tasted that success enough. Some people been beat down mentally by their family, their friends. You ain't shit, you ain't this, you ain't that, you will never accomplish this or that. And the reality of it is that all of those things absorb into you, right? They absorb into you on a cellular level, all the way down into the atoms of who you are, right? And the only way to really combat that is mentally. You're going to have to mentally find a way to combat that. And that's why in the workshop for the traders, we go real big on the trading psychology, because a part of that is, like I said, it's what's going to make you a better person out here. A lot of people are like terrible people. They don't even know it. But you start figuring out why a lot of people are terrible people, because most of us don't monitor our thoughts. We don't look at the things that we think about on a daily basis, how we think about ourselves and that self-belief in self, right? And so let's get down to some meat or something, right? The Kybalion, right? We got mental transmutation, okay? Mental transmutation. It says transmutation is a term usually employed to designate the ancient art of the transmutation of metals, particularly of the base metals into gold. The word transmute means to change from one nature, form, or substance into another, to transform. And accordingly, mental transmutation means the art of changing and transforming mental states, forms, and conditions into others. Woo! That is where the sauce is at. That is where the sauce is at. And so there's a term called cognitive dissonance, right? And it applies to not being able to accept the truth or a new knowledge in a certain type of way, regardless of the facts that's presented to you, right? And so I can tell you how great you are. I can tell you, how dope you are. I could tell you that you could do anything in the world, and that could very much be the truth. But if you don't believe it in yourself, you're not going to go anywhere. And it's really, really important that we start figuring out that we got to take certain things out of our vocabulary, like the word try, saying you're trying to do something. Don't try to do something, do that shit, We in a whole different realm of understanding now, where we know mentally that we got to do it regardless of the fear. So let me explain how fear works a little bit as it manifests into you mentally, right? See, when you're afraid of something, that adrenaline inside of you get to pumping, right? There's a bunch of different chemical reactions that happen within inside the body, right? And as we get excited, we produce things like dopamine, we produce things like adrenaline, serotonin, all different types of these different, what I like to call elixirs, right? In the mind of a magician and on how the body works. That is a whole realm of like a cartoon like type of thing with the human body, right? So anything can happen with the human body based on the emotions that's invoked into it. And these different elixirs get to mixing, right? And so when you got a lot of fear built up inside of your cells, built up inside of your body in a certain type of way, it's producing that adrenaline. And they call that like fight or flight, right? And so the fight or flight, most of the time people are going to flight. When you get scared, you run. Most of the time people get scared and they are out of there. They get scared and they quit. They get scared and they go call a mama. They get scared, they go to church. you know? But at the end of the day, you can't let fear immobilize you, right? I didn't think that happened in the markets. It didn't happen to me, especially in the markets when you see your move, but because you don't understand what's going on with inside your body, your hand frees up. Like, oh shit, there it is. Now you done missed it. Now you gotta wait on the next one, like the bus. But the reality of it is that you gotta understand why it manifests within you, you know? And a lot of times it's because you're trying something new. You got like, remember those good old days at Cedar Point the night before you couldn't sleep, and you know that you go get on the Magnum or the whatever roller coaster they got out the time, you know what I'm saying, highest, tallest, they do that every year, right? And you sleep the night before and you can't really sleep though because you're just anticipating getting on the coaster. And then when you get up there, the closer and closer you get into that line, the more and more your heart, it's about to happen, You get on and they put them straps over your shoulder, heart beating, it start going up, you get the tilting back some, heart racing, but you're doing it, You could have turned around and walked away during those heartbeats. But you did it anyway, and you did it because it was fun to you. You did it because it was a live thing, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes you got to do stuff scared in the same manner as if it's a ride at Cedar Point, And you got to transmute that fear into something great for yourself. It's real talk, y'all. It's real talk, y'all. A lot of people don't get the understanding of how it really go mentally, and it affects you in all ways, from the time you go to sleep at night to the time you wake up in the morning. It's going to continue to be that particular process, right? And so those thoughts are going to continue. If those were the same thoughts you had yesterday and the day before and the day before that, then you're going to continue to live out that same reality. Because the law of mentalism is the foundation of how your reality is created, right? So the 7 universal laws within themselves, you get a bunch of other laws that end up manifesting out of those to end up creating new laws, right? But it's the law of mentalism that's the foundation of all laws, right? Universally. So whatever God you believe in or however, you identify, that ain't none of my business. You know what I'm saying? Because whoever you believe in as a God, that's a part of the creation of these universal laws. They apply to every universe, however you want to manifest it. There is no such thing as a universe without the law of mentalism, which states that all is mind, the universe is mental. And so when you understand that how you think about yourself, the belief that you have in yourself is the most important thing you can have, because that's going to be able to gauge your success in what we call this thing called life. You know, I remember back when Tupac was rapping on one of them records, he was talking about we ain't ready to see a black president. And back in the day, I'm like, hell yeah. You know what I'm saying? Remember back we was talking about Bill Clinton black. And next thing you know, we look up and we got Obama. Right? When they got Obama, I don't really mess around with the politics of that. But for the example in question, right? It was for a long time in the United States history that we looked at it like that would be something that would never happen. And whether or not he's a clone, whether or not he was on the take and they had an agenda, don't matter. He was still the visual black president that we at first thought we would never see. But once it's put in music, once it's put on record, you know what I'm saying? One thing that I recommend y'all to do is listen to music that's going to uplift you, right? And when I mean uplift you, I mean in the general sense of like truly uplifting. A lot of that good old, like back in the day, 1970s disco music, you know what I'm saying? All that type of shit. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Start listening to that and start really, you will understand the different vibration that you end up moving on. Right? That 70s vibe is a whole different vibe. You know what I'm saying? And there's love behind that vibe. There's peace behind that vibe. It's earth, wind, and fire behind that vibe. You know, start getting into the OJs and some of the, you know what I'm saying? I was about to say the goddamn Five Heartbeats. That ain't no real goddamn group. But listen to them too. Shit, go watch the movie. It's a good movie. You know what I'm saying? It'll make you feel good. You know? What he said at the end when he was singing in the church. What he say? Oh, Eddie Kane. Yay. Oh, Eddie Kane. He is singing in the church and he was like, he say, I feel like going on. And I remember when I was little, I was watching that, I was about to cry. I was like, hell yeah. You know what I'm saying? He took care of himself. He did came back. You know what I'm saying? He all right. Oh, Eddie Kane. You know? But remember, at the beginning of that movie, old Eddie Kane, before they had went off to on their tour, his daddy had told him, you ain't gonna be shit, cause I ain't shit. And the mama like, don't tell him that. And then he went out there and fucked the whole thing up, because those is the type of things that other people might say to you. And you end up absorbing it. And once you absorb these things within to yourself, there's a self-sabotage that comes into play, right? And you don't even recognize that that's what's going on, because you ain't cleansed yourself of what somebody else then said about you or did to you, you know? And you got to have a moment for yourself in solitude and quiet to really assess how much of these different angers and fears you really holding on to that's molding your belief to make you feel like that you can't be the best version of you, to where you can't even imagine the best version of you. You know, some people out there, if you ask them about something as simple as a new car, they can't even imagine it. Ask somebody that's catching the bus about a new car, they shit, that ain't even on their mind. You know, when I was catching the goddamn bus, it was on my mind though. Way back in the day, I'm gonna get me a whip. I'm gonna get me this. I got the O.J. Simpson Bronco. You know what I'm saying? That's the first whip that I actually paid for myself. I had a couple whips before then, you know what I'm saying, that I ain't necessarily paid for, but that's the first whip that I paid bread. It was like $5,900, I think it was like $5,900 or something at the time I paid for it. It was nice. They had the boy was sitting up high, had the big tires on that joints, you know what I'm saying? Motherfucking O.J. Simpson Bronco. Let's give a round of applause for O.J. Simpson and the Broncos. Everybody that ride a Bronco out there, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to y'all, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get that brand new one super duper duper soon, but I will not be getting a note on it. Trust me, I will not. But that Bronco back in the day, everything is about manifesting. You know what I'm saying? I'm running the Bronco back for 2026. Y'all watch and sit back. And it's going to be so beautiful. Same all white, just like the OJ. You understand? Sitting on them big old goddamn tires. You know what I'm saying, y'all? This is how you manifest it. This is how you speak it into existence. You know? A lot of y'all don't think enough good about yourself to can even imagine yourself doing something like that, you know? But you got to know that every thought that you had in your life, everything that you've ever had in your life, you thought about it mentally first, whether you can remember thinking about it or not. And the more emotion you put behind that thought, that's what's going to manifest in your reality in the strongest degree. So those that's walking around with anger every day and resentment every day and then regret every day, you're going to end up getting the results of those things. It's wise to change your mind about the emotions that you decide to have. And of course, as humans in the heat of the moment, we can end up displaying a lot of different ranges of emotions, you know, from disappointment to sadness, to fear, anger, you know. But if you wallow in those emotions too long, you can get stuck there. And then the reality that you're creating is going to be a result of all of those emotions that you are harnessing on the inside for whatever reason. And so you have to infuse on purpose joy into your life. You got to infuse on purpose peace into your life. You got to infuse on purpose abundance in your life by bringing it through within yourself and by mentally having the thoughts, mentally using your imagination in the right way. You use your imagination in the right way. This is how you use your imagination in the right way. Okay. So first of all, let's just say you getting ready to go to bed, right? You're getting ready to go to bed. This is how you use your imagination in the right way. You start to plan out the good things mentally that's going to happen for you the next day, right? You start you start doing this. This is the smallest way to start doing it. This is the smallest way to start doing it. Once you start with these small things, then you can build up, and then you start watching it come your way even better and better and better, right? So, for example, before you get ready to go to bed, start imagining how good your lunch is going to taste tomorrow. Start imagining how good that sandwich is going to be that you go order from whatever restaurant that you like, you know? Start imagining how, you know, peaceful that drive to work is going to be when you listen to your positive, you know what I'm saying, Neville Goddard, you know what I'm saying, or Napoleon Hill, or whatever it is that you go use in the morning to be able to take the next levels up mentally, you know? And then you go to sleep, and as you imagine those things, it's just little. It's just the little things. And then as you accomplish them on that next day, you say to yourself, hell yeah, you know? And you enjoy the moment of it and the gratitude of the moment, right? And so you do it previously the night before, you infuse the gratitude and you infuse the joy, and then you infuse the love into it all the night before. And then that next day, as you do it, you enjoy it in an even more immersive manner, right? Because subconsciously, the things that we would like to manifest, so a lot of the times, you know, as they say, you got to dream big. You got to do. You really do. You got to dream big. You got to dream bigger. You got to dream, as they said in Inception, right? When he was shooting the little machine gun at the projections, bah, 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 up on the rooftop when they was in the second level of the dream, and then he came with the rocket launcher. He told him, you got to dream bigger, like you already in the dream. You just got to dream bigger. That's the only thing. And so we've been bombarded with so much garbage, you know, Like, especially when it comes to the media, right? Especially when it comes to the media, because the media is what a lot of people use to have a perception of themselves. And that comparison to what they think that the world wants them to look like, what the world wants them to act like, what the world wants them to be like. And honestly, once you get wrapped up into that loop, that media cycle of every time they change trends, you got to change trends because you got to keep up with the Joneses, as they say. You in a mental warp zone that you're not even in control of. Because when they say jump, you basically saying how high. Soon as they change the formula, you all with it. No, you create your own formula from within, you know? Because as soon as they start subliminally giving you other messages about yourself, you ain't gonna know which way to turn. But if you turn within first, you ain't even got to deal with that bullshit later. I don't even watch TV, you know? What I'm gonna watch TV for? It's the same old shows on there. I think the other day I was watching some old episodes of the Cosby Show. Shit was funny as hell. But besides that, I'm sitting up there like it's nothing actually good to watch on television. It's mostly negative. And then those frequencies that come out of those devices, like even though I gotta use the devices that I'm using right now to be able to give the message, the frequency this message is such a high level that it bypasses all that bullshit. So if you're on a high enough frequency, you be able to absorb it in its totality, right? But the shit that they spewing out in these media circles, that's the shit that'll have you really questioning yourself, you know? I suggest you follow that nighttime ritual, right? Of building up yourself mentally, you know? And saying what you're going to do the next day and doing it in its highest capacity, you know? And even if it don't work out right? Because that's the whole thing. You got to practice on it. You got to practice on it because as soon as you say this shit don't work, then that's going to be the reality that you get. You see how that's the whole mental game. Even if it's not working, you got to say, shit, this shit working. It's working like a motherfucker. Even if it ain't. Even if it ain't working, it's working like a motherfucker. Because that's how you get yourself there. I was watching an interview with Kobe Bryant, and they was just talking about the level of focus and believing in yourself and wanting to be the greatest. Now, even though people will still say Jordan is the greatest, a lot of people will say Kobe is the greatest, and they'll always go back to my hoops reference because it's easier to quantify, and there's always a debate on who the greatest is. And so therefore, when you start looking at athletes, even a person that's on the edge of the damn bench believe he great. Other than that, he wouldn't even be on the edge of the bench. That makes sense, you know? And even the things that you had to do scared before. Even the things that you had to do scared before. Look at how fluidly you do it now. Example of that. I bet most of y'all not afraid to drive a car on the freeway. If you've been driving for a while, I know some people still scared to drive on the freeway. That's why I say most of y'all. But in the general sense, if you done took the driving goddamn course and you done went up to the Secretary of State and got you a license and you done drove on the street and you done learned how to use a blinker and you feel pretty good about yourself every single day, the next thing you know, your automatic system start driving the car. You see, your automatic system is so programmed that it ain't got no fear about driving nothing. It ain't thinking about getting in no accidents. You will be driving so goddamn good, you'll pass up your own damn house. Like, oh shit, let me turn the damn around. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But the first time you got behind the wheel, your hands were shaking a little bit. You know? You're trying to parallel park. Boop. Hold on, hit that motherfucker. Move that garbage can back a little bit, y'all. Move it back some. You need more space. Next thing you know, you figured it out to the degree that now you like said to entertain the joke when you talk about whipping that goddamn spaceship backwards. You know what I'm saying? But it take practice for you to be able to get there, you know? But if you was telling yourself the whole time that you was trying to get your driver's license that you ain't gonna never learn how to drive and you ain't gonna never be able to do it, you would have quit the class. And that's the point. You wanted it so bad that you didn't quit. You wanted it so bad that mentally you said, I got this, you know? And so before you do anything, you got to shake off that mental old self that's telling you that you can't do it. You got to shake off that mental old self that's telling you that it's too hard. You got to shake off that mental old self, you know, that was angry and mad, and create a new self that's giving itself a second chance, right? Because it's not that the world ain't gonna give you a second chance, it's that you ain't giving yourself a second chance. And that's the only second chance that you need to step into your new self, your higher self. Ain't nobody stopping you but you and your own thoughts. This is a mental game. This is mental alchemy. Mental exercises every single day. You got to be a mental athlete. You know, mentally Kobe Bryant, mentally Jordan, mentally LeBron, mentally anybody that is at their greatest, that's got to be you in whatever field you decide that you want to be in. And in the game of life, it translates to every single aspect of how you live, right? So fuck what somebody else got to say about you. Fuck what somebody else you think they think about you. It's what you think about your goddamn self that's the most important thing. The law of mentalism applies. This is the nature of how you operate. And if you don't understand these factors, then you will continue to revel in your own demise. You will continue to go through the same cycles, the same loops. You got to infuse new thoughts into yourself. If you're not infusing new thoughts into yourself, who's going to infuse them for you? That's why the books is important. You know, in the workshop, we go through the Kybalion for a month. That's the second book of the month, right? But I'm giving you this show to be able to expand further in all aspects of it. And I'm going to continue this show forever at this point because I love this so much, right? And when you combine the aspects of stock trading with spirituality, then you get a whole new understanding. If you're a spiritual person, you go get into stock trading, get into the trading psychology of it. You go love this if you're a spiritual person. You know, if you're a regular person that just want to challenge yourself, get into this type of understanding, this type of thinking. As I said, the name of the book is The Kybalion by 3 Initiates. It's like the Bible damn near, especially when it comes to like I said, the universal laws. You know what I'm saying? It may be a little bit hard to read. You might have to read it 1,000 times, but that is the point. The repetition is what's going to get you through this. It's not read it one time and say, oh, I got it. It's read it 1,000 times. You know? Repeat to yourself those good things to yourself 1,000 times. Every single day. You know? And watch how things start to change up for you. Watch how the different opportunities start to present themselves to you. Watch how people just start popping up in your life, ready to be of service to you. And it's all because you change your vibration, which began with your thoughts and the way that you felt, your emotions that's connected to these thoughts, right? There's a book called Feeling is the Secret, Neville Goddard, that you also going to be, I think that's the 5th month in the workshop, I believe. I don't know. I have to go back and look at the syllabus. But the point of it is that the trading psychology is the part that most people miss. That's the reason why a lot of people who trade quit. That's the reason why a lot of people who trade think it's too hard, because they only get one half of it. If all you learning is the charts, if somebody is only they teaching you is the strategy, then that's good and dandy. Good luck with you on that. If you don't have the trading psychology to go along with any strategy, you're just not going to be successful in this thing. And that's why in this workshop, we make sure we merge all of it together in a beautiful symphony of knowledge that's going to get you paid and level up your life. And this is what I mean when I say that this workshop will change your life. It's because the laws of the universe exist within the market. You know, as Danielle would say, you know, the every candlestick is a person. Behind every candlestick is people. And you're not trading candlesticks, you're trading the emotions behind the people of those candlesticks. And when you start to recognize it in that type of way, then you could be able to see the market in a different way. And a lot of people not going to give you all that game, but that's the type of game that you get here. That's the type of understanding, and we're going to show you the market flow. But I tell you what, if you're scared, you're not going to be able to be involved in this. If you're scared, you're going to be like, shit, If you're scared, you're going to be like, no, I'll wait. Go ahead and wait. That's between you and whatever procrastination energy that you up under. That's between you and whatever fear that you up under. That's you and whatever concern about what other people think about the decision that you're making here. Hey, that ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm just here to provide the information. You know, at the end of the day, of course, the mentality that you have is going to dictate the reality. But you got to be willing to dig within yourself and imagine the type of reality that you really want for yourself. You know, is what you're doing right now okay with you? How do you feel about it? How do you feel about going to work every day? How do you feel about punching somebody's clock? You know, I tell you what, you better start changing your mind about how you feel about that, because if you're going to do anything else, it's going to take those good vibrations. So I suggest whatever you're doing right now, start enjoying it, knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel. That's how you start flipping that switch. You sign up for the workshop, and then there you go. Now you got some light at the end of your tunnel. Now you can start smiling while you're going to work, saying, shit, I ain't going to be doing this shit too much longer. With the smile on your face. You know? Run it up while you're working and build you a whole plan. And that's what really, when it comes to abundance, the energy of abundance, the law of abundance, it all starts mentally first. You can't get to that state of abundance if you're not even thinking on the level of that there is a vibration that exists, that is on the level to be able for you to attract that, which is what we call abundance, right? So awareness is the key. Awareness is a part of, boom, mentalism, right? So when they start saying, oh, this person woke or this person is conscious, right? When you look up the definition of conscious, it means to be aware, right? And mentally, we're not even aware of the own frequencies that we're vibrating on an every single day basis. And that's what you got to start paying attention to. The way you're walking into rooms. How are you looking? Is your head held high? You know? when you're walking into the store, when you're walking through the grocery store, when you're walking with your mom, when you're walking with your pops. How are you feeling? You know, everywhere you go, you gotta know in your imagination, know in your mind self that you're walking with abundance, that you're walking in peace, that you're walking in love, you know? And these are the things that's gonna start manifesting. You do it little bit by little bit by piece, you know? Because it's a challenge to change the way that you think. It's a challenge to change the way that you think. And that's why it's important to have a psychology that come with trading. Because the market could beat you up if you don't know. You know, you get in there and think you know what you're doing, that market will humble you real quick. And then you're going to need this game that I'm giving you. That's when it's going to become important. When you're out there by yourself and then you're revenge trading and you don't know why. You know, that's what's going to end up happening if you don't got your psychology together. And that psychology begins mentally, you know? And so the law of mentalism, the mental transmutation aspect of it. So there's all different levels of emotions that you could be vibrating on in between, you know? All different levels of vibration. And so when we start talking about vibrating on a high level mentally, we're talking about within self. It's nothing that you can do about what the rest of the world is doing. You know? The whole rest of the world is specifically designed to keep you in a lower vibration, right? See, this is how they get you. Because no matter what you think you're doing good, if you go do some research, you will find out that it ain't good. This is when you start to understand the law of polarity. We go get into the law of polarity real deep, you know, in the future. But just to keep it in a nutshell, for everything you think is good, there's something bad about it, you know? Now, I remember seeing them recall spinach at the grocery store, you know? Then they tell you to grow your own spinach and grow your own this, right? How many of y'all really out there would be willing to till your own farm, land, put in that work, plant carrots and tomatoes and cucumbers and cabbage and greens and sweet potatoes and shit, all that shit sounds so damn good. You know what I'm saying? But imagine you got to do all that yourself. How many of y'all actually willing to do that? See, first of all, if you've never done it before, you will have to mentally imagine yourself doing something like that in order for that possibility even come, right? And so you get a lot of spiritual people that say that's what they want to do when they roost. They want to go organic. Good luck to y'all with that, right? And I ain't saying nothing necessarily against it, but my point of it is that it's a lot of work behind there, right? And so you get the health benefits, but you got to have the time to do that too, right? This is the type of workshop that's going to give you the opportunity to be able to have the time to do those things. When you're only in the market an hour, maybe a couple of hours out of the day, you got the whole rest of your day, and the market open 23 hours a day. But mentally, you got to be able to see yourself only doing something for a couple of hours a day. Because if it's something that you never seen yourself doing before in your imagination, you got to make it happen first. It happens in your imagination first, right? That car you're driving, you imagine yourself in it first. You know? You imagine yourself in it first, even before you drove it. You imagine yourself in it. Yeah, it's a beautiful night. Really enjoying myself. You know what I'm saying? This law of mentalism is the beginning of how you think about this market, you know? How you think about everything that you're doing. It's without the law of mentalism, right? And you go learn that in the Kybalion. Without this law of mentalism, there is no other existence, right? Everything begins mentally first. And so you have to imagine yourself doing it first. That is the key to this journey. And whichever journey you decide in your life, the key is to imagine the success that you're going to have in this journey. The key is to take the mental notes, the mental photographs, you know, the mental video of you actually doing it. And it takes practice. This is what meditation is all about, you know, because after you clear your mind of all that garbage, and when you're trying to meditate, and this is a lot of people's issue when it comes to meditation. A lot of people's main issue when it comes to meditation is that they don't know how to stop the chatter. They don't know how to stop their mind from keep on thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. A lot of people think that thinking is meditation because when they sit down, they ain't doing nothing but just having their mind just go for this thought, that thought, that thought, that thought. And then they thinking that that's meditation. That is not meditation. That is allowing your mind to keep on rambling and rambling and rambling to keep you from meditating. See, the key to meditation is to shut that off. That is a part of the ego of yourself that's been talking so much that doesn't want to allow that silence, so that other side of you, that spiritual side of you, could be able to speak that voice through silence. Inside of that silence is the symbolism that you're going to need in your imagination to bring it through and to let that merge with the conscious mind, so that you could be able to bring that from the imagination reality to the physical reality that we walking in right now, or what we call a physical reality, right? Because it's really like a quantum reality. And all you're doing in your imagination is picking up the parts of yourself that you haven't tapped into, that don't necessarily exist here, but you're going in. It's like on the movie The One with Jet Li, right? And in the movie The One with Jet Li, y'all got to go back, get into your archives, get this Chinese, well, not necessarily Chinese, but y'all know Jet Li kicks some ass, right? So it's a real good movie, but the concept of it is he's going from basically in the multiverse, going from universe to universe, because it's Jet Li in each universe. So the universe is called the One. And part of the concept is every time he kill off one of his cells in another universe, he gets that power and becomes more powerful. And it's the kind of the same. You ain't got to kill off that other self that's in no other universe, and unless it's a negative self, that's between you and your infinite amount of cells that you have that you can tap into. But you want to be tapping into that millionaire self, that abundant self, the self that see itself doing great things. You need to tap into that self that see yourself on the boat, that see yourself pulling up in that brand new car. And not that it's all about materialistic things, but see the self that see you with your kids at the park at any time of day, just enjoying the day. See yourself doing cool stuff like just taking flights out of town. You got to be able to see it in your imagination first. Because if you don't see it in your imagination first, it's not going to happen here. You got to be willing to throw those lower vibrational thoughts away and counteract them with a positive version of yourself. You got to be able to laugh at those lower vibrational thoughts, you know, and then transmute, mental transmutation, and take your whole line of thinking to the higher self you that you can be. It begins mentally. It begins with the imagination. The imagination is I am, I am. That's the beginning of it. The I and the M. So it's saying I am. I am what? I am the jinn. I imagine. I am the jinn. I am the generator. You are the generator of this. I imagine. I am the image. You are the image of what? Right? That's what you got to break it down into. You know? You got to make it work for you inside your mind. Whatever you think is difficult, start turning it easy. You turn it easy by breaking things down into smaller sections, bit by bit, piece by piece. One of the things that I do, for example, right? If it's some shit that I really don't want to do, for example, like washing the dishes, right? Let's just say, you know what I'm saying? I ain't got nobody to wash the dishes for, and then the dishes got to be washed. That's one of the things that I'm like, God damn. My sister, she say that's the devil's work. She say washing dishes is the devil's work. You say she despised doing the devil's work. How many of y'all love doing the devil's work? How many of y'all love washing dishes? My sister say that's the devil's work. But guess what? If I ain't got nobody else to do it, I tell myself, all right, shit, just give me 15 minutes and I'll go ahead and knock it out. Now, it used to be a time in my life where I didn't wash dishes at all. I ain't wash dishes at all. Even when I was growing up, I ain't wash dishes. I got sisters. They washing the goddamn dishes. You know? And then as I got older, I had the women in my life, y'all will wash dishes, or my sisters will wash dishes. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to pick up my hands to wash a goddamn dish. And this ain't no misogynistic type of shit, you know what I'm saying? Or no role type of shit. It was just some shit that I ain't never had done before. I never imagined myself washing dishes. Never saw myself even doing it. I left dishes, I would leave dishes in the goddamn sink. And you'd be like, oh shit, you can say I'm trifling all you motherfucker won't. I'll leave dishes in the sink and throw them motherfuckers away before I wash them and go buy a whole new set. Rinse out the sink and go get some paper plates and say, fuck it before I wash the dish. I'm telling you, that's the real talk. That's how much I didn't wash dishes. Like, I didn't even know the fuck I'm supposed to get dishwashing liquid. I done synced it done, but shit, there ain't nothing that I did. But then next thing you know, right, you get to going through that time in your life where you ain't got nobody around to wash the dishes for you. Now I stay too far for to get that call and just say, come on through and wash the dishes. Now you got to drive 45 minutes to come holler at me, right? So now I ain't got no choice but to wash my own goddamn dishes. And I'm like, shit. And it started in my imagination. Close my eyes. Shit, let me see you can get this shit wrapped up. Boom, 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 boom. Put the sink. And I had to visually imagine myself washing dishes. I had to imagine where I was going to put the goddamn cups and shit at. Where I was going to put the goddamn plates and shit at. And in my mind, I'm like, man, I ain't having no goddamn company no more because the people don't even know how to act. You know what I'm saying? Leave my dishes looking like this shit. This some bullshit. But at the same time, I washed them. And then I was like, oh, okay, this ain't too bad because, you know what I'm saying? It's just washing dishes. It's just a task, you know? But it is still the devil's work. Your hands come out all shriveled up and fucked up if you ain't got on those fancy goddamn dishwashing gloves. You know what I'm saying? That shit'll eat your ass up. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you got some cheap dishwashing liquor. God damn, your hands be ate the fuck up. Get the peeling this shit all dried the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? I see y'all ladies, y'all be having y'all nails done and all of that cool shit. I see why y'all be like, fuck that. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't got no goddamn dishwasher, shit, motherfucker, I understand. But at the end of the day, like I say, the imagination. You will end up doing some shit that you never done before. You know? And it's okay because I don't feel no type of way about washing the dishes. That's my point. I look at it as a good thing nowadays, you know what I'm saying? As far as like having a clean kitchen, you know, cleanliness is next to godliness. You know what I'm saying? That's like I said, it don't matter who do them as long as they get done. I don't give a fuck. It's just that now I'm or put forth my own effort, you know what I'm saying, based on the circumstance and situation I was in at the time. I had to learn. I had to do it on my own. I had to figure it out. And I was like, shit, I'm buying new dishes every goddamn other week, you know? Because I don't want to wash these motherfuckers. I run out of paper plates, then I use the dishes, then I don't want to wash them, throwing out whole dinette sets at a time. You know what I'm saying? That's what it was about to me. I'm like, I ain't washing shit. Like, I was so wrapped up in my ego that I was throwing whole dish sets away. Even the ones that wasn't dirty because they didn't go with my new dish set. So I throw all of them away. You know what I'm saying? Just take them straight out to the trash or the dumpster. You know what I'm saying? I think every once in a while I call and ask somebody if they want some dishes. You know what I'm saying? But most of the time people already got the dishes they go have. So I just, at the time, you know what I'm saying? Just fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Throw these motherfuckers away. It ain't no big deal to me. They just dishes. You know what I'm saying? Somebody gonna say, instead of throwing dishes away, just get paper plates. So then that's what, you know, like I say, my shit evolved, you know what I'm saying? But it evolved to the point where I was like, man, I'm not about to keep on spending $25, $30 on some goddamn dishes that I'm gonna throw the fuck away. Like, yeah, I get money, but at a certain point, shit becomes ridiculous. And that's what it was. You know, that's what changed my mind about it, was just the frivolousness of it just made me just dawn on myself. Like, am I really wrapped up in my ego that much to where I'm really to go out here and keep on spending the same money over and over and over with those same thoughts? I ain't washing the dishes. I ain't washing the dishes. I ain't washing the dishes. I don't wash dishes. And then next thing you know, now look how much it's costing me to not wash dishes. Fuck out of here. Shit. Time for me to change the way I think. You know? Time for me to figure out that, hey, it's just washing dishes. It's just a little dish soap and water, a little bit of elbow grease, you know what I'm saying? And it ain't that I know how to cook or nothing like that, you know what I'm saying? Usually when I cook, I got somebody I'm cooking for, so they usually wash the dishes, you know what I'm saying? I'm an excellent motherfucking chef. That ain't the motherfucking question. I'm just the type of motherfucker that feel like if I cook, I shouldn't have to clean up the kitchen too. You know what I'm saying? That's a big part of why I don't be, you know, used to back in the day didn't do it. But now shit, like I got my technique down and everything. I can be cooking and washing the dishes at the same time. You know what I'm saying? As far as like getting clean up the kitchen first, boom. Then as I'm cooking, all the dishes that I use, clean them as I go along. There don't be nothing in the sink and everything when I'm done cooking, like a G. But I had to teach myself about doing that shit, because when other people was washing the dishes, you think I was in the kitchen? I wasn't watching what the fuck they was doing. I'm going to do something else, because washing dishes wasn't my shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, on a straight up tip, it's an ego thing. Look, ask yourself, what is it that you don't do in your life because you wrapped up in your ego so heavily that you just not doing some old mundane regular ass shit? You know what I'm saying? It could be some shit like, if you're a woman, you might be like, shit, I ain't pumping no goddamn gas. All right. You know, I'm good for you. You know what I'm saying? But however you want to do it, it's always something that in your mind you saying that you ain't gonna do. And mentally you then put up a brick wall, and now any possibility of anything that could come outside of that, you then shut it down, right? Because you say you ain't gonna do this. Nah, find out that a lot of the shit that you too egotistical to do, a lot of the shit that you afraid to do and your ego in the way of the fear, that's exactly why you should do it. In a nutshell itself, just to conquer the fear. Because once you start conquering fears one little step at a time, that is when the floodgates open up of your power within. Because you got to know from yourself that you ain't scared of shit. And it's going to be things that's going to pop up to test your gangster out here on what are you willing to do when that adrenaline get to pumping inside of you. Right? And then as soon as all that adrenaline get to pumping inside of you, you got a choice. Most people take that elixir, mix it in their body, they associate it with fear. And then now when they think about things of success, they get that same feeling within them, and they associate both of those because it's the same feeling. right? That fear and that joy that gets trapped through your glands inside your body that's producing these elixirs, mentally, you're going to associate that elixir to one side or the other. So even when if you're thinking about something good, you can still get that same feeling like you're afraid. So you got to, whatever you're thinking about good, you still got to do that even through that. And then the things that you're afraid about, you still got to do that through that fear too. You got to transmute all that energy and turn that fear into something good. You got to turn all that adrenaline into a superpower for yourself and start standing on it. And when you start feeling that feeling, instead of being afraid, start saying to yourself, yeah, I'm about to do this shit, you know, with conviction. You stand on it. This shit about to get done. You know what I'm saying? And that's the mentality, you know, mental athletes. You got to turn yourself into a mental athlete and retrain your mind to be able to think like this every single day about yourself. It begins mentally first. Ain't nothing gonna come to you in this world if you're thinking negative about yourself. Only thing that's gonna come to you is a bunch of negative shit. And unless you love all of that lower vibrational shit, which a lot of people do. A lot of people do. A lot of y'all are addicted to toxicity. A lot of y'all are addicted to any situation that'll allow you to be angry. You know? I hear y'all, when I be out there, I hear y'all saying what y'all gonna say. Y'all be saying shit like, when this happened, I'm gonna be mad, like random event. You know what I'm saying? And whatever the fuck it is, why are you already choosing anger? You choosing a whole emotion in your imagination. That's why I say in your imagination, you didn't just say if a so-called event of the future, right? Then you go be mad. So now, even if that don't happen, you already done set the tone for anger to be the premise of the next thing that's gonna happen, because you still ain't used that anger. So even if the original thing don't happen, you still got a bunch of anger that's just waiting around. It said we was gonna do something, and then now next thing you know, it gets to acting out, right? Next thing you know, you're cussing out the wrong motherfucker. The person you should have cussed out 2-3 days ago, they gone. But now you cussing out your spouse. Now you're cussing out your teacher, your cousin, your boss. Because the original person that you should have cussed out 2-3 days ago, they long gone. But in your mind, you saying to yourself, this is how it works in the past. I should have cussed that motherfucker out. I should have told that motherfucker this. I should have told that motherfucker that. Now you got all of these things that you go say to somebody. You ain't say it to them. You go say it to somebody. And then eventually it spews out. Because that's what your mental is on. Your mental is on a vibration. And then your thoughts back that up. And then you put the emotion behind it. And then next thing you know, you having these realities play out. You know? And I ain't gonna lie, I'm the type of motherfucker that'll cuss a motherfucker out. Y'all see me cussing right now. But at the end of the day, ain't nothing wrong with using a little bit of profanity. Profanity is all right with me, y'all. You know, profanity builds character. Anybody that don't like cussing, I look at them a little bit suspiciously, like, what you don't mean? You know what I'm saying? Because cussing ain't about cussing everybody out every single time. Sometimes cussing is just for the sake of joy. You're supposed to be happy cussing. You're supposed to be like, hell, fuck yeah about shit. You're supposed to use profanity to your advantage. You know what I'm saying? You know? That reminds me of that Corey Holcomb joke when you say a lot of y'all don't call y'all women bitches enough. That was funny. Go watch Corey Holcomb. And I like Corey Holcomb because he be spitting a lot of that G. You know what I'm saying? As a comedian, but he be spitting a lot of that G and real talk. And a lot of what he be talking about, it really goes back to something that he had never say. It's the law of mentalism. It's how you think about yourself. And so for every podcast, all that other stuff that you watch, these and you see everything you see on TV, it's a representation of something that's also within you, and whether or not you're going to attract yourself to it or not. You know, at the end of the day, you are what you absorb. And you absorb so much visually, right? You know, that's why in the 1990s, everybody wanted to be a thug. Tupac, the most popular rapper out. Everybody rapping that thug gangster shit, you know? But you see how the music, when they say the music influences, right? It not only it influences, you think it's only influencing the behavior, but it's actually influencing the mind itself of the repetition of what we are saying to ourselves as we repeating this music. And so the music itself becomes a mantra. And you repeat it and you repeat it and you repeat it. And then next thing you know, you acting out the same lyrics that you've been listening to, you know? But that's why the shift to abundance when it came to music and when it became the rap, that was real pivotal. That was really, really pivotal in the quality of the lifestyle that people can imagine themselves having. Because for a long time, black people never even imagined themselves with wealth. You know? In a general sense, coming out of the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, it's like, yeah, you can get rich as a, you know what I'm saying? But not for real. You know? All the uppity Illuminati-ish type of so-called people, they got all the patents. You know? They're making all the laws. And so at a certain point, when the reality is that way as you living in it, you may not even think to imagine yourself doing anything extravagant, you know? That's why I love the South rappers, you know what I'm saying? Because for a long time, the South like, wait a minute. We got it going on now too. And then the South come out rapping, and then now guess what? The whole South crunk. East Coast crunk, West Coast crunk everywhere. Detroit always stay, you know what I'm saying, on the map when it comes to music, you know what I'm saying? And so at the end of the day, though, it's whatever you listening to, the vibration of it, right? You got to be aware of what you're listening to when it comes to this music, because it will change your reality of how you think. And so it's a balance. It's okay to still play your gangster shit. I don't care what y'all play. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, make sure that you infuse something positive throughout your day with intention. Start adding more of that, you know? Nobody telling you to cut off your radio while you're driving, but every so often start putting on an audio book. Put on the Kybalion before you go to sleep. This is going to put you right to sleep. Don't even worry. But you go wake up like, I feel something different, because you're going to still be listening as you sleep. You're going to catch it subconsciously. And that's the beautiful part about leveling up spiritually, you know? Because subconsciously is what's going to change everything for you. So listen to some good stuff. Why, as you go to sleep, let it manifest into your ears. The vibration of it is still going to have an effect on you. You know, if you got anybody in your life that's spewing negativity to you, telling you can't do it, telling you that you too this or you too that, and hey, no, now's the time to get them out of your life. Now's that time. Now that you know this information and you know how that affects you, and you know that you got to use your imagination within yourself to have the greatest version of yourself, why would you want anybody else around you that's only going to try to imagine you in a worse thing than what you want to imagine for yourself? Why would you allow anybody around you like that? It's time to get those people out the way. Anybody that don't see a greater you within yourself and giving you a round of applause for the new you that you're going to be, and giving you shooting your horn for you and giving you big ups on your way on your journey and the way you to yourself, then it's time to get them on out the goddamn way. Simple as that. It's simple as that. And it may hurt, because it may be a family member. It may be your brother. It may be your hating ass brother. You may have to distance yourself. Stop inviting them over. You know? Stop having them drinks with them every weekend. Because every weekend he say, oh, nigga, you know you whack. You know you ain't this. You know you can never. Why? Yeah, and that's your brother. You've been told to love him. Your parents then convinced you that he got to be a part of your life. But that's not necessarily true, because even family members may need to get some distance, because their mental capacity of how they think and feel about you, if they spewing that directly on you, it will affect you. And you got to eliminate that out your life, you know? And you get into this class and you'll start this workshop, you're going to start seeing people around you slowly start to fall off, you know? You're a spiritual person, you already know what I'm talking about. The more spiritual you become, the more you start to see the world different. The more you start to see humanity in a different type of light. And the more you start to know the power that you have within yourself. And then at that point, you say, shit, I only really want to deal with people that know that they powerful like I'm powerful, because why would I keep on hanging around and doing all these same things that I'm not doing no more with people that, you know, that's on a certain level. And no offense to the people that's doing the same thing that they did yesterday. It's just that you got to know for yourself that you won't doing something different tomorrow. Know that you doing something different tomorrow. And so those people that say, why are you going to do something different? Hey, let them know that, hey, because the new me that I'm stepping into, it requires for me to do these different things. You know? Just like if you go into college, there's prerequisites. That's whatever the word is. You got prereqs. You go to college, there's a certain standard of knowledge that you have to have, right? Before you can go on to the major of what you're doing. And those is the prereqs, you know? So if you going to school to be a nurse or a doctor or architect, that don't matter. Those first 2 years of school, unless you go into like a straight trade school where they kind of streamline that shit a little bit, you gonna be taking English, math, and goddamn Spanish like you did in high school. That's why a lot of people say college a waste of money. Why am I paying all of this money in the first 2 years? I can't even start to learn what I'm supposed to learn, and I got to take the same classes that I took in high school. Y'all got to start paying attention. You know what I'm saying? The law of mentalism. Understand why it's not a great idea for maybe a person like you to even do something like go to college in this day and age. So you can owe a hope. Depending on what you're going for, you may not want to do that shit. You know? Now, remember, the reason why everybody is going to college is because of the Cosby Show. They hyped up college so good on the Cosby Show. All of the Cosby kids went to college. That wasn't by a fake type of let's just come up with a story thing. That was by design, that was put on television to mentally get black people into colleges. That's what it was all about. That's it. College agenda, you know? I got a video on the college agenda. They always have a college agenda. They want people to get into these schools. They want people to take these student loans. It is a benefit of them for you to get their education. They benefit so much from it, and you've been mentally programmed to think that you need it. But a lot of things in life is stuff that we say, why didn't they teach us this in school? This is what we should have been learning in school. The Trader's Blueprint, that's what we should have been learning in school. You go to a college campus and you see everybody running around having fun. Everybody having a whole heap of fun. All of the fraternities and sororities, Q dogs and Kappas, and, you know, all the different parties. Oh yeah, you're having a good ass time in college and they running up the bill on you. Meanwhile, you done dropped out after 2 years because you done ran out. You don't want to get no more student loans. Your grades low and whoop-de-whoop, and you're trying to do, and you owe. Or you go through the whole process. You go through 4-5 years. Sometimes it takes people 5 years to pull it off, graduating. And now you owe 80 bands. You owe 80 bands, 100 bands. And then you get out here and you only making 35, 40,000 a year. Maybe you make 50 a year. Fuck out of here, man. And you supposed to pay back all that other money, but you still got to get your house, you got to get your car, you know what I'm saying? You might got your, you know what I'm saying, some kids to take care of, because life keep on lifing while them student loans are still hanging on right there. And they still ain't teach you how to get no money for yourself. So what was the college education for? Just to run up the bill on you. That's all they did was just run up the bill on you. And now when you get out here into the real world and got to make decisions, now you at a disadvantage than the same dude that didn't go to college and y'all working the same job at the plant, but yet this person ahead because they just went to the plant straight out of high school and you did some years in college and now you 4 years, 5 years behind. This next motherfucker got more seniority than you and you making more money and you on the verge of being a temporary employee about to get halfway laid off and your degree sitting up there collecting dust on your damn mantle, and the whole goddamn time you sitting up there trying to figure out how you go pay back the same student loans that was scammed out of you in the first place. And let's be real, it was all a scam. You know, they know it ain't no way for you to pay that money back. And especially depending on what profession you went into, it's damn sure ain't no way you go pay it back in a reasonable time and still live your life. You know, now this guy that made a different decision, don't be mad at them. Don't be mad at them because they came and went to the Traders Blueprint Workshop, got some knowledge. It's a whole bunch of people out here. They will not tell you what they do for a living because they don't want you putting the hex on them. It's a bunch of, hey, traders, when you sign up for the class, only fuck with people who support you in this class, because a lot of people are trying to talk you out of this shit, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going to do a show on about that, you know what I'm saying, on why people are trying to talk you out of it. But for the most part, just ignore that shit. Just ignore it and follow yourself, follow your intuition. And understand that for a very, very, very small investment within yourself, you will have the knowledge and the power and the wisdom to be able to do anything that you can imagine in your mind. And that's what makes it so powerful, the imagination itself. You know? But when you get strapped down with $100,000 worth of student loans, the only thing you're trying to imagine is another way to figure it out, right? This is it. Go ahead, boom, knock that shit on out. Year, 2 years, real quick, 3 years, whatever it take for you to put that to the side, and then, you know, while you trade, and just knock it on down. Ain't even no big deal now, because now you're like, okay, I see what I should have learned. Instead of going to get this degree in English or get this degree in, you know, chemistry or biology, and you ain't no fucking biologist. You're not no real goddamn chemist. You know? What the hell you doing with your degree in theology? And they not hiring for that? You know? You got to go to school for another 10 years now. If you want to get somewhere in biology, you want to be, let's say, a marine biologist, you got to go to school for like 6-7 years. Somebody got to fund you, because marine biologists, they only get paid from the people that fund a marine biologist. It ain't just no money in being a marine biologist. So you might love the fuck out of some goddamn dolphins and whales and octopi, right? Octopuses. Is it octopuses? Pause. We'll just say you love the marine life, right? We'll just say you love the marine life, you know? And you go to school to go do all of that stuff. Everybody congratulates you. Everybody looking at you like you the shit, you got your little aquarium at the crib, about a little 50-gallon tank or whatever it is, nothing too fancy, with your little fish in there, and you graduate from college, and they like, well, what you go do now? You can't go apply to be none of what you love. It'll take you another 15, 20 years to get into the field. And then when they start paying you, they going to start you off. Even though it may seem like a lot of money, they may start you off at $80,000. Now you're into your career, starting off at $80,000, 10, 12 years after you graduated with $150,000 worth of goddamn loans, and you hoping that the people who put you on that's paying you the 80, they already telling you that there's might be some budget cuts because the people who gave the last grant thinking about backing out because we ain't find shit the last time we was out on the Marines. Pay attention to what I'm saying. You got to have your imagination to be able to look at these scenarios and start asking yourself how much fucked up shit is in this world that you can get involved in without even knowing, and then the rest of your life is affected by these decisions. Going to college will affect your life in a dramatic way. And if you ain't got that scholarship money, if you're not getting the NIL deal, what the fuck are you going to college for? I see absolutely no need for it in this day and age, depending on what you're trying to go for. Let me repeat that. Depending on what you're trying to go for. If you don't know what the hell you're going to college for, you better save your damn money and time and then get into this trader's workshop and then understand that this is the reality, right? This is why most people are scared. This is why most people are afraid. This is why most people look at the stock market and look at everything that's going on and then say, you know what, I don't know. The reason why is because most people in America, listen to this, what I'm about to tell you. Most people in America only have a 6th grade education. I don't give a fuck if you graduated from high school. Your level of comprehension, your level of understanding is only reached the level of a 6th grader. Is what they say is the level of most Americans. Now, if you really, really think about that, ask yourself, well, how much does a 6th grader really know? Well, I guarantee you a 6th grader know this. They know enough to read some charts and some graphs and have an understanding of that. I could tell you that much. They can read you some charts and graphs and have an understanding of that. Y'all been doing social studies since 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. If you only got a 6th grade education, if you was paying attention, you could be able to understand a chart or a graph, especially if you got another person sitting there guiding you through it. So don't be afraid if you feel like you ain't got enough education to handle this, because trust me, George W. Bush was president of the United States. You don't need no whole lot of education to be successful. But you got to be willing to invest in yourself. And you got to be able to get rid of that fear of that you're not smart enough. You got to be able to get rid of that fear of that it's something new. What if I fail? You got to get rid of that fear of thinking that you may not understand it. All of these fears that you have wrapped up within yourself, you got to get rid of that fear of, well, what are they going to think about me? I remember it was a time back when I went to the K. Shout out to everybody I went to the K with me. You know what I'm saying? And I remember when we had took the ACT test, right? We was in the 10th grade when we took it. Nothing spectacular. It was the first test. You get to take it again the next year, whatever, right? And so I believe I scored 22 on the test. I think the ACT go up to 36, and like once you get over like a 21 or something like that, you consider to start to be on the elite level, right? And we in the 10th grade, this is our first time taking the test. Everybody, we go take it again the following year. And everybody was getting 14s, 15s, 16s, 17s. It's the Detroit public school system, and we never took a test like this before. And so most of the shit on there we hadn't even learned already anyway. Now, because I had went to, a Catholic school, 6th through the 8th grade, they prepared me for the ACT in the 8th grade. I'm like, shit, that's one of the reasons why I was able to pull it off. I already knew a lot of shit early, you know what I'm saying? But besides that, the point of it is I'm walking around the school thugging. I'm listening to Tupac. I'm listening to Biggie. I'm listening to Cash Money. I'm listening to No Limit. I'm listening to 8 Ball and MJG. I'm listening to DMX. You know what I'm saying? I'm listening to all the ruthless rappers of back in the day, the Dayton family. I'm all on the West Coast with it. E40, listening to goddamn DJ Quicknam. Everybody, I was all in, right? And so it was because David Gooden, actually, he had a higher score than me. David Gooden had like a 26 or a 28 or whatever mine was. His was like 4-5 points higher. So if I had a 23 or 24, he had a 28. If I had a 21, 22, he had a 20. Whatever he is, he was a few points higher, but he didn't have a 30. I know he didn't have a 30, but it was probably the 28, 29 or some shit right there. And now he had the highest in the class. But they was calling me Mr. ACT because everybody like, we didn't know you were smart. You out there every morning sitting on them bricks, smoking weed, skipping class, in lunchroom rapping. We had no idea you were smart. And I'm like, and then at that point, it kind of dawned on me because there was a couple things that ended up happening that year as well. You know what I'm saying? Like my grandma had passed, and when your granny passed, it started make you feel like you got to change your life, and that's that imagination part of me. All of that thug shit that I was out there trying to do, trying to get shot, trying to mentally manifesting all of this wild ass shit, this wild ass reality so that I could be this rapper that actually lived the life. All of that came falling apart. That whole imagination of me being the black bastard and that shit fell the fuck apart when my grandma passed. When my grandma worldly passed away and my mom and them, they came and got me out of school because my grandma like, hey, she wanted to see everybody, you know what I'm saying, before, while she was in the hospital, she had a heart attack, And so they came and got me out of school to go see my grandma. And it be things like that start to change your mind about the perception of who you are. Some people go another way. I went the way of my granny know I'm smart. My granny know, what I'm saying, I'm about my business and all of that. She wouldn't even want to see me out here like this. Well, I'm going to see my grandma. She telling me I love you too, Granny. And, she died a few days after that, I believe. Maybe it was the next day or I don't know. When she passed away, I'm sitting up there and that really changed. Like, you know what? Let me start getting my shit together. And that's all it took. And I started imagining myself as being that different me that was actually smart and that was actually putting in the work to be a good student and do the things that I was supposed to do. Now, I'm still doing thugged out shit, but now I ain't the black bastard no more. I done switched over to Fontaine. You know what I'm saying? So now that I'm Fontaine, I'm smooth. I'm fucking with the hoes. You know what I'm saying? And I'm getting money and I'm getting my education. That's what I'm all about. That's what Fontaine all about now at this point. And rapping, because I'm still rapping too, but I ain't the black bastard no more. I done elevated it up to a whole different level. I got a whole different imagination of myself. I got a whole different imagination of myself on who I am out here in this world and what I project myself to be. And I use the death of my grandma to be able to fuel myself into that imagination of being something positive, because my grandma was, both of my grandmas, but both of them was some real Christians that really did the right thing. And when your grandma say that she loved you and she wants you to do the right thing, and you know what type of woman that she was, going to church every Sunday and all of that old cool stuff, and you a young person, you go take that in and you go be like, you know what? I am going to do the right thing. But there's other people out here in their mind, they say, my granny died, I'ma fuck some shit up. when my granny died, ain't nobody bet not say nothing to me, man. You understand? You know what I'm saying? My granny gone, man, about to kill anybody, motherfucker, say nothing. This motherfucker word, I put that on everything. Niggas beating their chests out here. And my granny, look, that's a whole opposite polarity. And you wouldn't even realize that because you might be sitting there right there next to the same motherfucker. It might be your grandma too. You might be the cousin, you know? You might have to calm your cousin down. No, fam, it's all good, man. You know, Granny lived her life, man. You know what I'm saying? We got to remember the good times, man. We can't be out here spazzing out and wilding out on people, man. Granny wouldn't want that. Now you got to be the cousin that tell your other cousin what Granny wouldn't want for us. She wouldn't want you to visualize that self going out there doing that on your own, fucking shit up because she not here. No, she would want you to be great. You got to be the cousin that get that game now, you know? Because other than that, cuz go fuck around and spaz out, get drunk, and fuck up the whole night and whole party for everybody if you don't come and talk them down off of that cliff. Because you know how we love our grannies, you know? And so it's real important that you understand how the mind works in these type of ways. Because if you're not looking at yourself and the things that you say, you will end up acting them out in that type of way. And it could be some shit. That's why I say based on the circumstances around you. And then next thing you know, you get wrapped up in the emotion. Now I say when people pass away, you wrap up in the emotion of grief. You could be wrapped up in the emotion of anger. You could be so misunderstood and confused in your mind because you may not even understand death. You just know that you just want to fuck some shit up. You know? And I get it. I understand that. All the RIP shirts that I see around the city all the time. All the balloons that I see going off around the city all the time. You look up, it just be balloons. 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 Every other street corner. Balloons and teddy bears on the poles. You know? Not every other, but y'all know what I mean. You see enough. You see enough to know that there's people out here hurting. When you lose somebody you love, you know, you see that out there, you hurting. But you gotta find a way to mentally transmute yourself into a higher level out of that situation. And recreate your reality in your imagination to steal the highest vibration that you say that you want. Because we go get into the rest of these universal laws. We go get into the law of correspondence, law of cause and effect, the law of vibration, law of rhythm, law of gender. We go get into all of the laws. We go get into the laws of attraction. We go get into the fake laws that's out here, right? There's some fake laws that's out here that y'all are abiding by. I'm going to expose those fake laws as well, you know, in future episodes of this show. You know, this show going to be really, really lit. I advise all y'all to stay tuned in to this show. You know what I'm saying? Whenever y'all see me pop up, click the like, click the follow, click the share, click whatever the hell you got to click and subscribe to the channel because this is the spiritual stock trading episode show, you know, where we go deep into layers of not only how you can be a better trader in the stock market, but how this applies to you in life. Because you're going to trade your emotions. You're going to trade how you feel. And we got to start identifying these factors and how we move in life so that we can move better. Even if you're not a stock trader, this is just valuable information that just help you move better in life. And so there's no reason to even not digest it at this point. If you're looking at this type of information and saying, then that means that you need to just stay where you at with it. But if you're looking at this type of information and you're saying, then click the link in the description. Download the material. Sign up for the workshop and really change your life on every single level. And it starts mentally. First, you got to see yourself clicking on to the website, clicking on to the shop. Imagine yourself downloading these PDFs. Imagine downloading the Trader's Blueprint, class summary, and going over it and start feeling the confidence that you can do it. You know, the workshop summary is free. The spiritual stock trading 7 hermetic principles is free. The candlestick Bible is free. You can download all of those things for free in the store. So it's no excuse for you not to even start your trading journey at this point and start your spiritual journey at this point. Because I done already told y'all how much money you can make. And that's just the bottom floor. Once you get really good at it, you start making more and more and more. And next thing you know, you will look up and your whole life has changed. But you got to start somewhere. You got to start in your imagination. You got to be able to see yourself in this workshop being successful. You got to see yourself getting that new laptop. You ain't got to get the expensive one. Go to Walmart. Go get you a little $200 laptop and a mouse. Start mentally preparing yourself. Set up your little desk in your corner of your room, right? Set you up a little spot. Get your little whoop-de-whoops together. Get your notepad together. Get excited about this, because this is the beginning of the most beautiful journey that you ever go have, where you not only go learn the psychology of how to be successful, not only in the market and in life, but also get the monetary abundance that comes along with learning the information the right way. Nobody going to give you the actual psychology of it too. And that's the whole thing about it, because iron sharpens iron, right? As they say, steel sharpens steel, right? And so this workshop is going to be a conglomerate. It is a conglomerate of like-minded people that we're going to use our minds to sharpen each other's minds. That's what we do here. That's what we do here. We sharpen each other's minds and make money together. And that is such a beautiful thing that a lot of people in this world, first of all, ain't going to even offer you to get money with them. But more, I don't care about the goddamn money. I care about the mentality, because everybody I want around me in my life from here on out, I want them thinking on a high level. They are thinking on a high level and will continue to think on a high level. And I invite you to come think on a high level with me and start the process at this workshop. The Trader's Blueprint Workshop. Start the process of elevating the people around you. If you at home and you all alone and you're scared and you looking for that group that's going to take you to the next level, because maybe you didn't already started your spiritual journey, right? Now, I know how that spiritual journey be. You done already started your spiritual journey, and next thing you know, you started to see all your people start falling off. Whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. They're falling off one by one. Not because you're doing anything wrong, understanding the law of vibration. And you vibrating on such a high level, and then now you run across this. And now you're like, all right, I fucks with that. I fucks with getting money and leveling up more spiritually with a bunch of people, and that's all they do. That's all they do is get money and level up spiritually. Yeah, those are the type of people I want to fuck with. You understand? And then you change your environment. Remember, if it's 9 crackheads, you will be the 10th. But if you around 9 millionaires, the likelihood of you becoming the 10th increases substantially, because you're going to learn how to put in the work. And eventually all of that millionaireism is going to rub off on you. But keep on hanging around crackheads. You smoke crack, don't you? You smoke crack, don't you? Look at me, boy. Don't you smoke crack? Yeah. You be right there along with them. And that's the point. Ain't that funny? And Lean On Me, that boy stopped smoking crack off of a lecture. That shit wasn't like that in Snowfall. In Snowfall, they showed you a type of a real deal on what crack was. So I take my shout out to all y'all that got crackhead mamas and daddies. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, not shout at you, no shade or no salt, but that's the biggest Like, this is the biggest mental hurdle that we ever had to conquer, you know what I'm saying, in recent so-called black people history. That was an infiltration of one of the most violent drugs that literally destroyed communities all across America, all across the world, low key. But especially here in America, that shit was what it was. And it still is what it is. But at the same time, we done rose above it. And the reason why a lot of people only got sixth grade educations is because they had to drop out in the goddamn sixth grade to feed their goddamn family. Let's keep it real. These people out here ain't get their highest education based on the fact that they just didn't want to do it. It was the world around. It was the fact that they had to take care of their little brother and little sister. They had to find some money. You know? Life is the real deal out here. There's mamas out here that really do run up their kids' credit cards and put the gas bill in their name. If you ain't got one of those mamas, then good for you. Be blessed with that. And be glad you ain't have to go through nothing like that. Because the griminess of a lot of parents out here, you be saying like, God damn, I wish my parent was a crackhead and was gone. But the problem is that let's just say your childhood fucked up. You still don't want to be in the system. Because going down the goddamn juvenile detention center, shit, that ain't no goddamn better. Now you in the whole world of trouble if you wrapped into the system. You damn near rather have crackhead parents. But you see what the fuck America provides for us in that type of way? You're given a choice as a goddamn kid to go into the system or have crackheads as a parent. Shit ain't fucking fair at all. So no wonder you only got a 6th grade education, 7th grade education. You know? Shout out to all the dope boys that was getting money in the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade. They had to drop out because they had to make shit fucking happen or be homeless. I know what the real is. And guess what? Whatever you're doing to make money nowadays, I'm telling y'all, come on and holler at me and take the class. You ain't got to worry about it no more. I got the secret sauce for you. Go ahead, sign up for the workshop. You understand? Because at the end of the day, you know, go ahead and sign up for the workshop because at the end of the day, it's a whole bunch of cool stuff on there for y'all. Whole bunch of cool stuff on there. Links in the description to the website. Go ahead and sign up for the class. Sign up for the workshop. Download all the free goodies. Because that's the blueprint. That's what's going to get you started. You know what I'm saying? And I'll be continuously adding more free things for y'all to download, catch y'all up as much as possible. You know what I'm saying? Because I want y'all to be successful in this thing. You know? I want y'all to have a chance to really start from a baseline and build on up, you know? But it starts mentally first. Mentally, you got to tell yourself, you know what, I can do that shit. You got to mentally not be afraid, you know? Like I say, all y'all that graduated from college and y'all own all them goddamn student loans, I feel y'all. Come over here. We go get y'all together. We go get you a plan. We go get you that bread and take the class, learn something new, get into this psychology and conquer everything else that the world get to throwing at you. You ain't got to worry about your student loans no more. You got the solution. I'm giving it to you. You know? Let's work on paying off our homes early. Even though we know we still got to pay taxes on them and we never go own them for real. Fuck it. Let's work on paying off our cribs early. Let's work on paying off them cars early and then getting a new one and cashing out. Let's change the way that we think mentally about how we're about to navigate through life. I'm telling y'all, this is the solution to the problems that you've been manifesting. And I come to manifest the solution for you. I just need you to be able to see it within yourself to know that you can take another pathway to success that you may not have known about before. And although Although that tunnel look real dark, you signed up for the workshop, you'll start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel real fucking soon. I'm telling you, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially, in every single way, you will level up. But it's a personal investment that you got to make. It's a personal commitment that you have to make. Mentally, the law of mentalism, spiritual stock trading, right? I want to thank everybody who stayed up for the live. I want to thank everybody that getting money with us in the Saturday class and waking up every morning in the Signals group, Profit Path. I feel great, y'all. This is spiritual stock trading with Fontaine the Titan. I appreciate all of y'all love, all of y'all support. Like the channel, subscribe to the channel, go through to the website, go on the store. The link is in the description. Subscribe to the channel, download the free material, and sign up for the workshop, and let's take this to the next level. You know? Peace.